Inspector General has confirmed that they did just that, that they went into the computer system that was supposedly separated and within the control of the Senate committee and essentially fished around. They even created false identities to pretend to be Senate staff members going into the computers. It was, it's not good. I mean, the more important thing is the report itself, but this certainly undermines the kind of trust that you got to have. I think we've really got to have some serious discussions with John Brennan, find out what he knew about this when he was making those statements, and what he knew about it at the time. I'm not calling for his resignation, but I'm pretty skeptical right now because it really has undermined the trust between the committee. And if you go back to the report itself, Candy, one of the key findings of the report is they weren't honest with us. They weren't honest with the Congress. They weren't honest with the President, the Secretary of State. They were misrepresenting this program and what it did and how effective it was.
The CIA is listening where perhaps they shouldn't be. Germany is taking a listen to what John Kerry is saying. This while they are unhappy, we've been listening to them. And there needs to be a closer ear to the ground as to what a certain Russian dictator is planning with regard, possibly, to his next strike point. This and much more. Let's welcome back to MidPoint from LIGNET.com, former CIA analyst Lisa Ruth with our dig into the intelligence community. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Also now, let's go ahead and be joined by Chief Analyst Fred Fleitz, who joins us via Skype today. Fred, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here.
Fred, we wanted to bring you in. Lisa's here. We're going to talk about a number of things, but we wanted to get to you right away on Newsmax.com. Your article, 5 Untruths in the CIA Spying on Congress story. Give us an idea again quickly on those 5 untruths, because as you look through it, there's an awful lot here that people need to pay attention to.
That's exactly right, Ed. I've called for Director Brennan to resign because I think this issue has been handled very badly by the CIA. But this story is being terribly misrepresented by the news media. And I'll give you an example. This is a Washington Post story that ran on Saturday. The headline is, CIA chief under fire despite apology for search of Hill computers. Ed, these were CIA computers in a CIA building. Senate staff removed classified documents from these computers in violation of an agreement and probably the law. CIA decided to monitor these computers to find out what had been removed. Now, CIA made a serious mistake there. They should have brought this up with Senator Feinstein. But more importantly, this whole affair is distracting from the extremely politicized report on enhanced interrogation that the Democratic Senate Intelligence Committee members are trying to prepare. The Republicans have disassociated themselves from this report. And I'm afraid this scandal is basically giving them a free pass in the media to put out a report that I think is a partisan abomination.
There are 2 things in this out of the 5 that you give us that caught my attention immediately. CIA Director John Brennan lied last March when he dismissed claims that CIA hacked into Senate computers, and also CIA's actions were illegal and violated the U.S. Constitution. Both you mark as false, correct?
That's correct. CIA did not break into Senate computers. These were CIA computers CIA was monitoring. Since these computers were in a CIA building, it was a responsibility of CIA to make sure they were secure. Nothing was stolen from them. If these staffers had given this intelligence to the Cubans or the Russians, whose responsibility would it be to see that that information was not removed from the CIA building? And in terms of not violating the law, the Justice Department looked at 2 inquiries, whether the Senate Intelligence Committee staffers broke the law, whether CIA broke the law. They dismissed both inquiries because there was not sufficient evidence to prove that any laws were broken.
Last question for you. Is this just going to further weaken the CIA's ability to do its job?
I think this is a big problem. What Brennan and CIA staff did, I think, was inappropriate and has hurt relations with Congress. I also think that trust was breached in the other direction. Senate staffers removing documents in violation of this agreement for such a partisan report is going to make CIA officers and other intelligence officers much more reluctant to cooperate with congressional oversight.
All right, Fred, thank you so much for joining us here today and bringing up to date on this 5 Untruths in the CIA Spying on Congress story. It is on the Newsmax.com website as we speak, courtesy of the folks at LIGNET. Thank you very much, Fred. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa, let's go ahead and turn to you now. We've talked about what's gone on between the CIA and the Senate here. Let's turn to spying of another kind here. We got spies going all over the place here. But as I noted at the beginning of the show, we got spies who are getting caught here, number one. This just seems as if Americans are going to ask once again, what is really spying and why does it need to happen?
Absolutely, and I think you're getting to the point on the Israeli and the German and that kind of thing. But it really does show, even with our allies, everything's not out in the open. You know, we do still maneuver. We are careful. And a lot of it, you know, my perspective, honestly, is probably somewhat different than the public, because being inside, you see how this works. But we really are trying to make the best intelligence assessments for policy decisions that we can. And what that means is even our friends mislead us, and we need to have a very clear idea of what's happening in order to make those assessments.
And let's get in here and dig on the Germans just a little bit here, because certainly Angela Merkel is upset. They're very upset. They do the same thing to us on a daily basis. It's not as if it's all of a sudden just one country doing it. Not only that, but now we know they did indeed listen to certain conversations. So it's a wash, it seems, to many people either way.
Well, again, when this whole thing came out and Merkel was shocked and appalled that we were recruiting, welcome to the CIA. We have a CIA. You know, this is not a big surprise. I think it is disingenuous to believe that we're not spying. Frankly, in this particular case with Kerry, I think John Kerry really messed up, because he knows very well the same thing. These intelligence services, this is what they do. The CIA collects information. This is not a big surprise. And just as we are collecting information, we should also be protecting our information. And the fact that Kerry did communicate on unsecured phones, you're almost waving a red
Which
flag.
in itself is incredible if you think about it.
That's what I mean. The fact of, hey, would you like to listen into my phone conversation? These are blunders that have happened. And I go back to naming the CIA station chief in Afghanistan. They are blunders. They're things you might expect to see from a brand new first day administration. You wouldn't expect to see it at this level.
Let's talk about our good buddy Vladimir Putin,
Yes.
Mr. Bare Chest. Wonderful. Now, this is I guarantee you there might be 1 out of a million people listening to us right now who will know where I'm talking about. Nagorno-Karabakh. Did I get that correct?
I believe you did, yes.
Nagorno-Karabakh, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Give us a little idea as to why Putin is looking so close at this region and what's going on.
Well, people who are my age may remember there was a war, the Nagorno-Karabakh War, and it was a bloody civil war. It caused a lot of problems. This is between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The Nagorno-Karabakh is actually in Azerbaijan, but it's ruled by the Armenians. Putin is friends with Armenia. They're allies. Azerbaijan, much like Ukraine, has become allied with the West. What we're seeing is increasing clashes in Nagorno-Karabakh, and Russia absolutely wants to maintain Armenia's control. First of all, there's a military base, a Russian military base in Armenia, and the Nagorno-Karabakh region the instability there allows Russia to stay in. There's now new talk by the Armenians saying, you know, Russia annexed Crimea, maybe they should do the same thing with Nagorno-Karabakh. I will also say the other side, Azerbaijan, is saying maybe we need to annex it back from Armenia. But certainly this is something, as you said, it's interesting because it's not on the front page of our friends, you know, the mainstream media here. But this is a region that could provide another opportunity for our friend Vladimir Putin to stretch his wings again, to say, oh, we have to go in to save our allies.
He doesn't need any more wing stretching. Let's go ahead and stop right there while we're ahead of the game. 2 minutes we have left here. ISIS or ISIL or the Islamic State. We have to make sure, because now they're known as a bunch of different names. Now, 3 towns and Iraq, and the largest dam in the country has now fallen to ISIS. Is it not fair to say that in many ways this is a key to the country?
This is really disturbing. They also took an oil field at the same time. The dam is a real problem for 2 reasons. One, they could flood, really significantly flood major cities in Iraq. The other side is they could hold back water. That's they could use it both sides, either too much or too little. The other point on this particular seizure is they took it from the Kurds. Up until now, there's a lot of analysts who said that the Kurdish forces could put up a real fight against ISIS. They overran these guys with very little problem. This suggests, again, ISIS is outpowering. They now have another oil field. They can sell oil. They can sell gas. They have a gas field in Syria. Financially, they're doing very, very well. Militarily, they're doing very, very well. The question is, what is it going to take to stop these guys?
Got about 20 seconds left here. Granted, Baghdad is still in control of the pseudo-government, whatever it is. But in essence, has this country already fallen?
In essence, we're talking about a country that is fragmented beyond anything we could have thought of. The central government's in control, but we are fracturing badly.
In other words, it's a teetering. It's one of those, simply put, that it's not going to be put together anytime easily or anytime soon.
Absolutely.
Lisa, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We know you're coming here on Monday. Reminder once again, everybody, for in-depth analysis, forecasting on geopolitical risk in matters pertaining to personal life, wealth, and business affairs. We tell you every single time, make sure you go to lignet.com. There are folks, they're here every Monday as well. Later on this hour, the Sunday shows where politicians ensure we have plenty to talk about for weeks on end. News Call focuses on Ebola arriving in the U.S. And next up, failing to learn the lessons of foreign policy disasters. It's all coming up on MidPoint.